Ethan had always trusted his wife, Julia. Their marriage, though not perfect, was built on years of shared memories and quiet understanding. But lately, something had shifted. Julia's laughter seemed forced, her phone was always face down, and she spent more time away from home. Ethan tried to ignore the gnawing feeling in his gut, but it grew stronger with every passing day. The final straw came when he found a text on Julia's phone from his own brother, Mark. "Last night was amazing. Can't wait to see you again." Ethan's world tilted. He tried to rationalize it, maybe it was a joke, or a misunderstanding. But the seed of doubt had been planted, and it began to grow, twisting his thoughts and coloring every interaction with suspicion. Ethan's mind became a battleground. Every glance between Julia and Mark felt loaded with hidden meaning. He replayed conversations in his head, searching for clues he might have missed. Julia's sudden interest in late-night walks, Mark's frequent visits, the way they both fell silent when he entered the room, it all seemed to fit together in a sinister puzzle. Ethan started following Julia, checking her phone when she wasn't looking, and even driving by Mark's apartment late at night. The more he searched, the more convinced he became that something was happening behind his back. Yet, every time he confronted Julia, she denied everything, her eyes wide with hurt and confusion. Ethan's obsession grew, isolating him from friends and family as he spiraled deeper into suspicion. One evening, Ethan found a receipt for a hotel room tucked into Julia's purse. The date matched a night she claimed to be working late. His hands shook as he confronted her, but Julia simply stared at him, her face unreadable. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said quietly. Ethan's anger boiled over. He accused her of lying, of betraying him with his own brother. Julia's only response was to leave the room in tears. Ethan's paranoia intensified. He began recording phone calls, checking credit card statements, and even hiring a private investigator. The investigator's report was vague. Julia and Mark were seen together, but nothing overtly romantic. Still, Ethan was convinced. The evidence, though circumstantial, felt overwhelming. He couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, and his work began to suffer. Ethan's world shrank to the size of his suspicions. He stopped seeing friends, ignored calls from his parents, and spent hours alone, replaying every moment with Julia and Mark. His health declined, he lost weight, and dark circles formed under his eyes. Julia tried to reach out, but Ethan pushed her away, convinced she was only trying to cover her tracks. Mark, too, seemed distant, avoiding Ethan's calls and making excuses to stay away. Ethan's isolation deepened, and he began to question his own sanity. Was he imagining things? Or was everyone really conspiring against him? The line between reality and paranoia blurred, and Ethan found himself trapped in a maze of doubt with no way out. Unable to bear the uncertainty any longer, Ethan decided to confront Mark directly. He drove to his brother's apartment late one night, his heart pounding. Mark answered the door, surprised to see Ethan on his doorstep. The conversation quickly turned heated, with Ethan accusing Mark of betraying him. Mark denied everything, insisting that Julia was like a sister to him. But Ethan wouldn't listen. He demanded the truth, his voice shaking with anger and desperation. Mark, frustrated and hurt, finally told Ethan to leave. As Ethan drove home, his mind raced. He felt no relief, only a deepening sense of confusion and betrayal. The confrontation had solved nothing. If anything, it had made things worse. Ethan's behavior became increasingly erratic. He started missing work, ignoring basic responsibilities, and spending hours obsessing over Julia and Mark. Julia, heartbroken and exhausted, moved out, hoping space would help Ethan regain his perspective. Instead, Ethan's paranoia grew. He began to see conspiracies everywhere, strangers on the street, co-workers at the office, even his own parents seemed to be hiding something. The world felt hostile and unfamiliar. Ethan's friends tried to intervene, but he pushed them away, convinced they were part of the plot. Alone and desperate, Ethan began to question his own reality. Was he losing his mind, or was everyone truly against him? One sleepless night, Ethan stumbled upon a hidden folder on Julia's laptop. Inside were emails and documents that didn't make sense, references to therapy, staged photos, and messages between Julia and Mark discussing Ethan's mental health. As he read, a horrifying realization dawned: the affair had been a ruse, a carefully constructed delusion designed to push him to the brink. Julia and Mark had been working with a therapist, trying to force Ethan to confront his deep-seated trust issues. The hotel receipt, the texts, even the investigator's vague report, they had all been part of the plan. Ethan's anger turned to disbelief, then to a crushing sense of betrayal. The people he loved most had manipulated him, all in the name of helping him. The truth shattered Ethan. He felt exposed, humiliated, and utterly alone. The realization that his own family had orchestrated his breakdown left him reeling. He confronted Julia and Mark, demanding answers. Julia, tearful and remorseful, explained that they had been desperate to help him, that his paranoia had been destroying their lives for years. Mark admitted he had gone along with the plan, believing it was the only way to reach Ethan. But their explanations offered little comfort. Ethan felt violated, his trust irreparably damaged. He withdrew from everyone, sinking into a deep depression. The world felt colder, emptier, and Ethan wondered if he would ever recover from the betrayal. In the weeks that followed, Ethan struggled to piece his life back together. He began seeing a therapist, trying to understand the roots of his paranoia and the impact of Julia and Mark's deception. The sessions were painful, forcing Ethan to confront uncomfortable truths about himself and his relationships. Julia reached out, hoping for forgiveness, but Ethan kept his distance. Mark, too, tried to make amends, but the damage was done. Slowly, Ethan began to rebuild his sense of self, learning to trust his own perceptions again. The process was slow and fraught with setbacks, but for the first time in months, Ethan felt a glimmer of hope. Months passed, and Ethan gradually found his footing. He reconnected with old friends, returned to work, and began to rediscover the things that once brought him joy. Julia and Mark remained on the periphery of his life, present, but no longer central. Forgiveness was a long road, but Ethan was determined to walk it, not for them, but for himself. He learned to set boundaries, to communicate openly, and to trust again, if only a little. The scars of the fake affair remained, but they no longer defined him. In the end, Ethan emerged stronger, wiser, and ready to face whatever life might bring, knowing that even the deepest wounds could heal with time and courage.